Okay, good night of Shabbos, everyone. Actually, it's Thursday night as we learn for Yom Chamishi Shel Shabbos Parashas Ekev, the Mishna Yomis, which tonight is the last Mishnah in the third parak and the first Mishnah in the fourth parak of Masechtas Beitza. Look how we're churning away at Masechtas Beitza. We're almost finished Masechtas Beitza already. It's absolutely amazing. As we are sponsored, the Ilui Nishmas, Chasya Bas Shlomo, Lefush Leimefel Yom Moshe Ben Chayesara, and for the schus of Avram Ben Yom Benish Ben Malki Yudis and family, we are sponsored by the Fisher family, Ilui Nishmas, Basi Bas Robert, Shlomo Ben Avram Alevi, Perel Bas Ruven, Nishav Lichtig in Gan Eden. We learn, sponsored by Yoel Klugman and family, and we learn Lefush Leima for my Shver, Avigdor Aryeh Ben Rivka. He should have a refuah shalema b'seg shachel Yisrael. So now, again, remember, we're not supposed to do a weekday activity, what we call an uvda dechel on Yom Tov. So in the olden days, when they didn't have refrigeration, they would go to purchase, without money, of course, from a vendor on Yom Tov. So, Aimer Adam L'Chaveira, you could tell your friend, Malali Klize, you could say, fill up this utensil, Avalei Bamida, but you can't use a measuring utensil. That already looks like a business venture, and that's considered an Uvda D'Chel. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Imaya Kli Shel Mida, if it was a measuring vessel that was never used, in other words, they never used it yet, so the Tanakama holds that since it was never used, it's okay, but it's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that even though it was never used, but since it's a normal thing that has a measure, lo yimalenu, you can't fill up, the vendor can't fill it up on Yom Tov. Ma'aseh Abba Shol ben Botnis, Abba Shol ben Botnis had a strategy to prepare it before Yom Tov. Shayimamali midoisav me'erev Yom Tov, he would prepare and fill up measures before Yom Tov, and therefore then he was able to come in. The customers were able to come in. And he could give it to the buyers on Yom Tov. Abba Shol says, well, Abba Shol ben Botnis wasn't only a grocer. He also was a great Talmud Chacham, and people came to him with Torah questions. And therefore, even on Chol Hamoed, he was too busy to do it on Chol Hamoed to measure it. It would have been allowed, but he was too busy. So therefore, he had to prepare it from before Yom Tov. He had to prepare before Chol Hamoed, the night before. Excuse me, I skipped Ma'aseh Abba Shol ben Botnis. Abba Shol did it in order. So this means that he wanted the foam to settle on the measuring. In other words, when you pour wine into a vessel, like you take, let's say you were pouring some asti spamanti, so it foams up, but then the foam settles. Now, there was foam that took a very long amount of time to settle. As I said, since he was busy answering questions on Chol Hamoed, he didn't have time to wait for the foam to settle. So therefore, he prepared it from beforehand, the night before. He did it. To have the correct measure and to have time for the foam to settle. He would even prepare in weekdays, because what he would do is he would hold over a vessel of oil to pour into the keli of the buyer, and it took a long time for the oil to drip out every little bit. So he would turn it over the night before to get every last drop, to get every last drop of the measure into the vessel of the customer. You could go to your grocer who you're used to, so he trusts you that you're going to pay him after Yom Tov. And you could tell him, "Tainly bayim ve'goyzim b'minyan." You could tell him, "Give me 10 eggs, give me 30 nuts." Because before they prepare the meal, they said, "Okay, we're going to make 10 scrambled eggs. I need 30 acorns." So therefore, it's not considered a business venture, and therefore it's not an uvda dechel. Now we start the 4th parak of Masechtas Beitza. Hamevi kadayayin mimakam lamakom. When you're bringing jugs of wine from one place to another place. Now, you don't want it to look like an uvda dechel. So lo yiviyem b'sal ubekupa. You shouldn't bring it in a big basket or in a box, because this looks like you're transferring a large amount, and transferring a large amount is a masli, and it's a weekday activity. But maybe you could bring a few bottles on your shoulder, or lefanov, or holding it in front of you. If you're bringing straw, you shouldn't sling the basket behind you, which is done for a large amount. You bring it in your hand. You could start to take straw from a fresh pile, even though you didn't plan to use it before Yom Tov. That's okay. This is going according to Reb Shimon, that holds a more lenient view of muksa. What we say, Reb Shimon, less like muksa. Everybody holds a muksa, but he holds a more lenient view of muksa. So even though you didn't prepare that pile, you didn't specially designate it, but since there's that straw is right to be eaten by animals, so therefore it is considered not muksa. However, avaloi be'etzim sheba muksa. You can't use the wood in the muksa. Muksa was in the olden days what we call a backyard, but they didn't use the backyard. They only used the chutzah, the front yard. The backyard was for storage. Now this wood was kept in the muksa. This was wood that was cedar, and it was set aside for construction. That is muksa, even according to Reb Shimon. That's muksa machmas chesron kis. You usually don't use that for fuel. He ran out of wood for fuel, or straw for fuel, and he wanted to take it from there. That, even according to Reb Shimon, is muksa machmas chesron kis, and he's not allowed to take it. I just want to tell everybody that we do have a very, very special share next week. Shelley is going to be joining me to ask the questions, and they are some humdinger questions, Rabbi say. I will tell you, we have some wild questions for next week, and that's going to be in the Boston Shul in Flatbush at 9 p.m. So Tuesday night, we're going to see what we're going to do about daf. There will not be a regular time daf. We'll see what we're going to do on Tuesday. We also want to remind you that Shir Daf Motzi Shabbos is 10:15 at zoomdaf.com. Next week, throughout the week, except for Tuesday night, it's at 8:35. And we want to wish everybody, stay tuned. I will hopefully be recording yet sometime tonight for the Shabbos table on Akev. And also stay tuned, Rabbi Say, if you want, on YouTube. I put a few very interesting shiurim, L'Kavod Tu B'Av. I put a shiur that I gave in Mechon Beis Yaakov Seminary, Aleha Shalom, in 2014, what to look for on a date. There is a shiur I gave tips for longevity, and there's also a shiur that I put on tonight, Elul Stirrings. So get ready for Elul. So that's all on YouTube. You can check it out. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a wonderful Shabbos.